Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Red Brothers Pod. I'm Victor.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here after a defeat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It feels weird not saying another week and another step closer to the title, doesn't it?
Well, first defeat in 20, how many games? 26 games in the Premier League. So it's a shame.
Who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares? We're going to win the league.
We're going to win the league.
It doesn't matter, does it?
But it was still scrappy.
Yeah.
And you know what? You were saying this yesterday. It was yesterday. If it was City at second place right now, it'd be shit, innit? However, it's Arsenal. They're gonna lose points again and again. They've just lost points to Everton. So
I don't know if you guys have seen, but you know that meme where it's like if set things happen and like the picture is like a utopia. That's what it feels like being in a title challenge with Arsenal.
Arsenal, yeah.
So like you've got like the City one, and that's like the Great Depression and all of this stuff, and then you've got the Arsenal title race, and it's just utopia and loving life. So yeah, it's great to be in a title race with Arsenal. Isn't it?
I think I'm more scared of Forest at this point, and they're miles behind us. So
I mean, it's really done us a lot of favours throughout the season that they tend to drop points when we drop points.
Yeah.
Of course, we dropped one more than them today, but again, they couldn't capitalise on us losing points again. And, you know, if at any point they were ever going to be competitive for the title, they had to make sure that when we drop, they are up there.
Yeah.
But it just seems to be the case that, you know, it just so happens that every time we drop points, they do. And I think this happened a few times to Liverpool back in the day, of course. Not to this extent, because the season I'm on about, we got 99 points. But I remember that season throughout points, there was times where City would drop points in an individual game and we'd play right after and then drop points as well.
Yeah.
Again, 21-22, City drop points, we go away to Brentford, draw 3-3, drop points again, and it did seem to sort of be a factor with us and City as well. So I can only sort of sympathise with Arsenal fans, but it is definitely something to do with like mentality and the pressure that's on them. Because it's odd that this team can play, Arsenal now I'm referring to, you know, they can play really good football, they have really good players, but it just seems like when it comes to crunch time, where it's do or die, they die.
Yeah.
And that just seems to be the case with them.
Yeah, and I think another point to be made, they have so many injuries.
True.
They're going through a mad injury crisis.
But I don't like all this injury talk just because when it happens to Liverpool, we get dismissed. Last season, you'll remember the Carabao Cup final, we were playing our under-21s.
Literally.
And then all these Arsenal fans want to chat about, but how can we stay competitive with all these injuries? Look at what we did last season. We were in the title race up until sort of game week 35, game week 34, when we, I think, lost to Palace at home. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, injuries happen, but, you know, we stayed in the title race a lot closer than they did with a lot more injuries.
Yeah, I agree, but also they've got, I think it's like 7 key players out right now. Well,
Saka's back.
Okay, Saka's back now. Well, I'm not exactly sure, but exactly who specifically. But it is a large part of the squad.
Don't get me wrong, you're right. So their strikers are out, which is obviously massive concern. Yeah. But if you look over the pitch, obviously Gabriel picked up an injury over the weekend. Gabriel picked up an injury at some point in the not so far past. So, yeah, of course, he's an influential player for them, and like Calafiori and that. But again, this is why you build a squad, so that when these players get injured, other players come in. And, you know, when you look at some of the sort of transfer options that they've taken over the past few years, you know, don't get me wrong, Zinchenko was good for them when he first came in, but now he's not an option at all, and he doesn't really seem in favour. So this is what I mean, like, you can blame injuries and all of this stuff all you want, but in reality what matters in those situations is squad planning and squad depth. Yeah. And I think that's really where they've been let down, obviously, over the course of the season, that they haven't had that depth, and obviously they've planned poorly because, you know, they've got Havertz and Jesus up front who aren't goal-scoring strikers. Yeah. And obviously that's been a concern for them for sort of a couple of years now, not having a number 9 since probably Aubameyang was their last proper 9.
Yeah,
so
but
which
still.
again, no, but Aubameyang was quality for Arsenal. The last year or so was bad, but his start.
That's what he's remembered as though.
Yeah,
that last few years.
Well, I remember him from destroying City in the FA Cup and a few other teams, Chelsea as well. I think he scored in the final. So yeah, I mean, there is blaring issues in the Arsenal squad, but then again, when you sort of look at our team with injuries, obviously the few weeks we've been starting Quansah at right back, obviously Curtis Jones against Everton and Fulham, so we've got the same injury problems just in different positions, but we deal with it a lot better because we have a better squad. And the funny thing about that is they've spent way more than us. Over the last couple of years they've spent something like over £700 million on players. Now, again, if you break that down, that is factual. Rice, Havertz came in for a lot. Obviously, this Mikel Merino and all these other players, it all really adds up. And to be fair, in my opinion, it's quite embarrassing that you spend 700 million and you still don't have squad depth that is competitive in the league, especially at those price points.
Look at Chelsea. I mean, they spent over £1 billion, and they're completely out of the picture when it comes to a title race. So.
I don't know what's going on at Chelsea. I think the model is smart because they're bringing in young players for the future, but the only oversight with that is obviously these players lack experience. It's not like Footy Manager where you load it up, sign wonder kids and they perform in their first seasons. That's not how it works. These young players need to develop and have time. So I think that's sort of goes all for Chelsea. But I think it would be good to have a little chat about sort of Fulham yesterday. What do you think?
I think the first half it was horrendous. I think it was so scrappy. The game, but I think it was scrappy at both ends. I mean,
but I meant like, what do you think of Fulham's performance? Not the game in general from our end, but what do you think of Fulham? How did they perform?
Well, I think who's their striker that scored?
Muniz, yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name, but that was an amazing goal. I think
that touch over Van Dijk and that finish was it was incredible.
Finish instinctual.
But A, he should have never have got to that situation. B, Kelleher should be saving that. And that's just my opinion.
I agree. Well, I'll touch on Kelleher in a minute, but when it comes to Fulham, I think there was times where the game was scrappy, but I think obviously they had chances, they took them, and
we didn't.
Exactly. So
I think what the key sort of problem was in the first half is we were struggling a little bit physically as well.
Yeah.
I think they were launching a lot of balls up and they were putting a lot of stuff into the air, like obviously the goal from Muniz. So I think we struggled with the physicality of it, and I think that, again, when you have a Gravenberch that doesn't sort of look 100%, he is a big physical presence, but when he's not on 100%, he can get shoved off the ball and he can get pushed off it, and I think that, again, it was just that lack of sort of physicality and that lack of battle. It seems like they really brought the game to us and we just didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, I agree, and we touched on this like when we were talking about it. Gravenberch just losing the ball quite often. Szoboszlai wasn't playing well at all.
McAllister was losing everyone really. I mean, sort of. I think the only real players that can hold their heads up high are probably Luis Diaz. McAllister was probably all round as a performance not too bad, but again he gave the ball a lot away. And I can't really think of any other players that covered themselves in too much glory. I think Conor Bradley definitely deserves a shout out.
Goal.
Yeah, I know, but again, we're rating it as an overall performance, and I don't think the overall performance was quite at the level we needed.
Yeah,
but don't get me wrong, I'm sure in the player ratings we'll see the goal boosts him up in the ratings.
Of course,
But again, I don't think that the performance other than that was up to standard.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think our performance as a whole was up to standards, I'll be honest. But obviously, if it was an earlier point in the season where the title isn't pretty much wrapped up, we'd be furious right now.
Yeah, but
absolutely
again,
furious.
I think we'd probably see a different result.
Yeah, maybe that
because,
as well.
Again, everything in football is psychology. It's not as simple as putting 11 footballers on the pitch here and 11 here and them kicking a ball. It can be that simple, but there's a lot of sort of mental side that goes into it for these players. Like we mentioned with Arsenal, every time we drop points, they drop points. Why is that? It's a mentality thing.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, when we're in a situation where we basically know we've won the league, there is room for complacency. And, from the defenders alone, you can't tell me they didn't seem complacent yesterday, because they really did. And I think what I wanted to cover as well with Van Dijk, I love Van Dijk and he's great, but what sort of does really annoy me is he feels like no one can touch him. The minute anyone lays their hand on Van Dijk, he just goes straight to complaining. And what I'd really like to see is for him to stay strong, get rid of the ball, and then start complaining and going, well, ref, why didn't you give that? Because, again, we see yesterday, he gets a slight shove in the back. Okay, on another day, it could have been a foul, but we're not going to beat a dead horse, so let's not go into that.
Yeah.
But, I want my centre-back to stay strong there. I don't want him getting pushed in the back. I want him backing up on the centre-half and pushing him offside so that, they can't continue with the attack. So, I guess he couldn't have pushed him offside because he was on before the ball was kicked. But you see the point I'm coming from.
Just get him off the ball in general.
Yeah,
just get him
so
away from
I think it was really poor for Van Dijk for that third goal to sort of let him through. And it was really weak, which is... not very
typical.
like Van Dijk, But I think, again, it's part of that nonchalant style that he tends to have where, when he does make a mistake, it looks bad because he's done it nonchalantly. Do you know what I mean? Really laid back.
He's really built a reputation for himself, but I think sometimes he relies on the reputation a bit too much.
He's like, I'm Van Dijk, he's not going to touch me.
Yeah, exactly. But I just want to touch on one thing, because I actually find it interesting. The mentality side that you said about Arsenal, I know we're bringing it back quite a few minutes now, but I think that's the difference between the coach, because when Arnold Slot can walk into the dressing room, or for example, Jurgen Klopp. Let's say Jurgen Klopp will walk into the dressing room, after the first 40... This is why it was called second half FC. First 45 minutes, we'd play horrible. Klopp walks in, tells everyone to sit down, tells them to shut the fuck up and pattern up, Whereas I can't imagine Arteta really doing that.
I can, bro. I've watched Arsenal documentaries. Don't get me wrong. Like, when he needs to, he can be assertive. But I think what the problem is maybe establishment. Again, when you have a coach like Arteta that hasn't really won anything, how much credit does he have in the bank with the players? How much are the players willing to die for him? Because I can guarantee you now, there was players in the Klopp era that would have died for Klopp. They would have ran through brick walls from him. And that's only a compliment to Klopp's coaching ability. But I think that, is that same thing going on in Arsenal? Again, I don't want to sit here and say no, because we don't know for sure. But at the end of the day, there's definitely a mentality problem at Arsenal. And I think that the more we go on, the more different fan bases also see it. So it was never occurred to me, because we've never been competing with Arsenal in the sort of near past. Of course, in the sort of early 2000s and stuff, but recently, no. So, I think you see it a lot more when they come closer to you, and when you can sort of see the difference. Like, the key for me, us after we beat City away versus Arsenal when they beat City at home. We beat City away and said, yeah, cool, another win, another 3 points, closer to the title. They beat City away, at home, still being 11 points behind us, and treated it like it was winning the league.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a massive rivalry between them two. City pipped them to the title twice, and they don't like each other. I can accept all of that. But when you react like that after what seems to be meaningless game now, that's where that sort of mentality problem comes.
Also,
I think.
It could be a bit of a forced rivalry, in my opinion.
A what?
A forced rivalry.
I guess,
because Liverpool have been pushed away from the title by City in the clutch of the final few games,
and it was never nasty or anything.
Exactly, and now it's a rivalry, but not in the sense of hatred, but it's a competitive rivalry.
But you know why? Because we were respected by City. City knew what we were capable of. If you watch the old Man City documentaries from sort of 2018, 19, season before that and season after that, you'll see that, Pep mentions numerous times, like whenever the Liverpool game was coming up, every time it would show Pep, and he's talking about Salah, he's talking about Mane, talking about Firmino, players that you can respect and be scared of.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have that same respect for Arsenal, because why would they? They haven't won a title.
Anything,
They haven't won a Champions League. All they do is bark and, get up for it. But in reality, there's no bite behind the bark. So I'm not surprised why the respect levels are different sort of between Liverpool and between Arsenal and City.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, anyways, moving on back to the game, I think the key problem for me was the defence. I think Robertson makes a mistake for the second goal, I believe, or the first goal, was it? No, the first one was off Jones's knee.
Yeah.
So the first one, Jones's mistake, bounce off his knee, falls to Sessegnon.
Yeah.
It's lucky that he falls to him, but he takes the finish nicely, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But the second goal, this is what we've been saying about Robertson for weeks now. I think that, it is time to go, and I really did think that after the last few weeks, we're starting to see not 100% Robertson back from what he was, but we start to see glimpses of that. He started playing a little bit better, and he definitely stopped being the player we spoke about after the game. How many weeks now have we not spoken about Robbo's poor performance?
Yeah,
do you see where I'm coming
ages.
from?
I mean,
so it's really frustrating to see that he's fallen back into that.
Well, on some of the earlier episodes, we was talking about whether it's Tsimikas or Robertson.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. So that's what makes it even more frustrating, because sort of halfway through the season we said, okay, no worries, Robbo's actually performing now. Doesn't seem like the left back's that much of a concern. And then he drops a performance like that yesterday, and it's like, all right, get Milos Kerkez here ASAP, because I can't do another season of that.
Yeah.
I mean, in the span of 30 seconds, again, this is stuff you learn at, Alex will tell you, obviously being a lot younger, this is stuff that you learn at the youngest age of playing football.
Genuinely, yeah.
Never pass it across the goal. Robertson turns, doesn't even look, whips it across goal, and then the ball comes back to him, luckily. So you're thinking, yeah, cool, get it out. Heads it right back to Iwobi, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you couldn't have done it worse if you tried.
Genuinely. And I agree, and I think I was saying this, and he's starting to look a lot less like a footballer.
I don't know, I don't know what's going on. He had that one turn, and then he goes and has that shot.
He had a nice one too as well.
Yeah, and with Diaz, I think, where he chipped it over the defender.
Yeah, you know what I'm on about. I'm not sure if it was to Diaz, but
I think so.
Still, even
or
if
Gakpo, one or the other.
He had two good looking moments in that game, but it didn't lead to anything. But then you also had so many mistakes. Obviously, it's just not
but
really
again,
good enough.
The moments of quality aren't like quality that's going to change a game. It's
just
quality in that moment. It's good football, but it's not going to get you a point.
You can put it in a highlight reel.
Yeah, but it's not going to get you any points.
Exactly.
It's not going to get you a goal. And yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised to hear that Robertson hasn't had a single assist in the Prem this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
like, that is mental to me. From the standards that I was used to sort of 4 to 5 years ago, if you told me that sentence in 2018-19 or the year before that, I would have gone, you've lost your whole mind.
Yeah.
Because Robbo was the key, like, not the key, but alongside Trent, the key creative aspects of the side.
Yeah, well, that was where their play was focused through the fullbacks.
True.
So, that's just how it kind of went. But now still, fullbacks are heavily involved in how we play football under Arnold Slot, and he's still not getting goal contributions this whole season. And he had an injury at one point, didn't he?
I'm sure. I don't think so, actually. Maybe from international break. I remember him coming back from Scotland with a niggle. But other than that, he's stayed relatively fit.
That's what I'm saying. So he's played for literally majority of the season and still poor. But just want to touch on the second half more. I think the second half was a lot more positive.
You know what? To be fair, people are going to clip this and laugh at it, whatever. I'm pretty proud of Liverpool to go there and put that much of an effort in to get back into the game. And you can see the determination on the players' faces, from sort of minute 75 onwards. We were just parked in their half, but we just couldn't get the finish away. I think we've done everything right in that second half, other than putting the ball in the net.
But I don't think the time the nation wins football matches.
No, you're right, and we didn't win. However, it's good to see that at 2 goals down, we're not down and out. We're still fighting to the last second of the game. And you look at those Chiesa chances, one of them goes 2 centimetres left. And all of a sudden, we're back in the game, and we're talking about potentially getting a fourth. So this is what I mean. It's as annoying it is to drop the points, it's also encouraging to see that if there is a world where we go 2 goals down okay, we might not come back, which we didn't there, but we have it in us to come back.
Yeah,
because we created the chances. We created the chances to get back into the game. Shota has the chance. Chiesa has 2 or 3. Nunes has that potential header that he could have scored literally in the last second. So this is what I mean. Well, we created an Elliott crossbar, bro. That's this much from being a goal.
But what you can say is, for example, the PSG game, we had so many chances, but we didn't score. But we can't be like, oh, I'm proud of Liverpool because we had a fight in us because we had chances. We didn't take them chances, and we're out of the Champions League.
No,
now,
I get that,
I mean?
But this is a situation where we're 2 goals down. Like, this is what I mean about mentality in football. It's just as easy at 2-0 down to switch off and go 3, 4, 5.
I know what you're trying to say.
Do you know what I mean?
I personally wouldn't say I'm proud, but I see where you're coming from. For me, it's more or less where I think it's good we had chances, but I think we should have
just to reiterate, proud of the second half, not the performance.
Yeah, the first half, I think the first half was absolutely shocking, but I think...
look, in that second half, we didn't give them nothing.
Yeah,
they
I
barely
agree.
created anything.
Yeah.
Again, we were in there half the whole game. Of course, we don't take the chances, and that's what stops us from, coming back into the game. But like I said, the fight was there, and again, for future, it goes to show that if we do go 2 goals down, we do have that capability.
Yeah.
And maybe on the night, if the finishing is better, then we can get back into these games.
Yeah.
Same as Forest away, 1-0 down. We get back in it and stuff like that. So it is still important that even when we don't win, we lose in a good way, I guess, rather than getting absolutely destroyed and shattered. We've gone out on our sword fighting for the point or the 3 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're
Because I'd rather see that than, like I said, look at City at Arsenal, 1-1 going into the second half. Arsenal scored 2, 3, 4, 5
because they switched off.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That could have very easily been us, especially with how poor the first half was.
Yeah, I can't lie. I kind of saw the game going that 5-0 or something.
But that's what I was saying.
5-1,
when they scored 4 out of 3 shots,
I'm thinking...
in 30 minutes, horrible. I'm thinking, cool, this is a long day.
Yeah.
But it didn't turn out to be that long of a day, because after that, we were the ones controlling the game and dominated.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's just unfortunate we couldn't put it in the net. And I think there's going to be a load of negativity out there from Liverpool fans and other fans. But look, at the end of the day, we're still 4 wins away from the title. We've got the fight in us, and we'll fight to the very end. And I think that those are things that not everyone can say about their football club.
Yeah, I agree. And I think in the first half also, we was talking about the last Fulham game at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, no, that was 2-1, I believe. The Trent free kick. I think you're on about the 4-3 at Anfield. Endo goal.
Yeah. Where that was all wonder goals.
Yeah, literally
all wonder goals.
So because Trent scored 2, but one of them was an own goal.
Yeah,
he scored one out of the box.
It was
from a corner or something. Yeah,
he scored a free kick, but it bounced off the keeper's back.
Yeah, I know, but then he scored again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was on about.
And then, but that game, it was literally all screamers
on our end, not theirs.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, McAllister bangs that in, and I'm like, well, I'm getting nostalgia here, because that was an amazing game. I remember watching that.
3 and 15.
Yeah, and it was kind of looking quite identical, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a similar performance, but unfortunately,
it could have been 4-3.
Yeah, it could have been. That would have been crazy, identical, but I mean, it still happened. That was an amazing goal by McAllister. Love to see it. Love to see him scoring again. It has to been a while, I think.
And as well, Luis Diaz's goal, I think he took the finish really well.
Yeah.
Obviously under a lot of pressure, as a defender on his back, keeper's closing him down, and he still just slots it so calmly. And I think we spoke about this yesterday, where I said, that's real composed, and you didn't really agree. But I think we established in the end that, in a situation where the centre-back's really pressing you. He's right on your heels, and you've only got a split second to get your shot away.
Yeah.
And you managed to do it and score. Well, I think that's the real description of composure.
My argument more was instinctive, because he didn't really he didn't have much time to think about what he's doing.
instincts is a part of composure. Relying on your instincts when you need to. That's composure rather than overthinking it like Nunes does and skying it.
And that's why he doesn't have composure.
Exactly my point.
So the way, because obviously the way I view composure is 1-on-1. You got the ball, you're through 1-on-1 at the halfway line. You run all the way, slot it past the keeper, bottom bins. That's why I think composure. But more like when I see he's struggling, just gets the shot off, just slots it past the keeper.
That's more composure to me.
Really?
Because in situations where, because again, if you're running through 1-on-1 from the halfway line, that likely means there's no one around you. Yeah. So you've not got anyone pressing you, so you've got all the time in the world. You don't need composure because you've thought of every possible finishing option before you've even reached the box. Whereas in a situation where you have to make a split second decision, that's composure, because you can still make the right decision like this.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But anyways, we are sort of dragging on a little bit here, I think.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I think it's time to move on to the player ratings.
Well, I think we should start from Kelleher and give him 5. I mean, it's a shame because
it's probably his last game for Liverpool as well.
Yeah,
because Alisson, I can imagine, will be back for West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because he's got absolute quality, but I think he should be a starting keeper elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you see him being a possible? What league? Where?
Tottenham. Get Vicario out.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone, bro. Honestly, Forest. Maybe not with Sells' form, but
maybe Chelsea.
There you go. I mean, he's way better than any of their keepers.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
You look at some other clubs around the Premier League, like the likes of West Ham, maybe Aston Villa after Emi Martinez moves on or retires. Stuff like this, bro. Like, there's loads of clubs for him. Even abroad and this stuff, he can go as well. So yeah, it's all an option. And what a great servant to Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, genuinely, I agree.
Honestly, the fact that, you know, he could stay here, stay on the bench, and, you know, not complain, understand his role in the team, and crucially step up in the key moments. You know, we'll always remember him for them FA Cup final and the Carabao Cup finals. So yeah, great memories on our end. Well, he didn't play in the FA Cup final, sorry, but yeah. Anyways, great memories on our end from Kelleher, and he'll always sort of go down as like a cult hero in Liverpool, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and I
same
think
with sort of Shimikas. He'll always be a cult hero.
Yeah, as well.
After the winning penalty.
Yeah,
in the
I
FA
remember that.
I remember that.
Yeah, the song is so iconic, and I don't think that's going to get remembered. So it's such.
I think it will. But anyways.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's going to get forgotten. Right. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
So yeah, moving on, we've got Jones at right back again. I think just to sort of speed this up, and because I don't want to say this about every player, but I think we can go for 5s across the board in the defence.
Okay.
All of them.
Sure.
Konate 4.
Sure.
Konate 4, honestly, because he got dragged
Van
off.
Dijk 4.
Nah. Because other than sort of that mistake for the goal, you know, he probably stopped a lot more than he caused.
Okay, yeah, true.
So I think that Verge gets a 5. Salah can have a 5 as well, to be fair. But Trent, Jesus, I can't think. Robbo gets a 5. No, 4. Robbo gets a 4. Van Dijk gets a 5. Konate gets a 4.
Jones
gets a 5.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on to Gravenberch and McAllister. And this is where it gets interesting because I don't even know.
So I want to give McAllister an 8.
Nah.
A goal.
7.
But that's just how it goes.
But the other part of the performance wasn't great.
Right. Yeah, but 7.
7.5? Meet in the middle.
Sure. But, okay, I hear it. 7.5, yeah.
Calm.
However, Gravenberch,
6.5 maybe, just to give him a little bit better. I mean,
I don't think he did horrible because he lost a few balls, but there's times where he's lost the ball and got it straight back.
Yeah,
because he's got that combination.
Again, what was really important about him yesterday is the fact that he slotted in at centre back when Konate came off, and he allowed us to play out the back a lot easier. And I think you asked the question as to why he's put him there, and I think that was your answer. It just meant that playing out the back was a lot easier when you have a player that can, you know, take a man on and keep the ball a bit, you know, dribble up the pitch from centre back, playing the ball out. You know, it makes a difference, and I think that was sort of the key difference between the first and the second half, is that we saw Gravenberch there at centre back, and that's really when the game changed for me.
Yeah, I agree, and definitely when we went to more of a 3 back, it was, and then we got a lot more attacking. I agree with you.
Szoboszlai?
Something like 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Horrible.
It's so annoying, bro, because the thing is, when you need a midfielder that's going to run up and down the pitch all game, he's perfect. But when you require anything other than that, he's just not your guy. When you require that little bit of playmaking...
But he can be.
But, bro, when have you seen him be a good playmaker?
But I can't think of games, but there's been games not even that long ago where he's done...
No,
great.
He's done good things. The thing is, I just don't see how his profile fits into the team. Because like I said, in the games where we don't need a runner in midfield necessarily, like him, he struggles, bro.
All right, I know what you mean.
Look at the teams we play that tend to play a bit more on the defensive end. So when we play City home and away, Szoboszlai is a great option. We need his running in the midfield and we need those legs. However, when we play a team that sits really deep, if he's not getting shots away from distance, what is he useful for? Because he can't play make. He can't. Let me be careful. He can't play make.
He can.
But bro,
he don't.
but why are his numbers so low from the 10? You're playing number 10 at Liverpool with Mo Salah, who scored 30 odd goals this season, with all these other players that can score goals. Why are your assists so low from a number 10?
Yeah,
he can't play make, bro. Because if he could, those numbers would be larger. You want to see a real playmaker, go watch De Bruyne, bro.
But same way, you can go like, well, Luis Diaz ain't a proper winger because he doesn't get the numbers.
Well, again, but that's a question. That's a conversation for another day. Because I grew up with, well, not grew up, but what a winger is to me is more Mane than Diaz.
Okay.
So again, I think you're right in that instance because I don't think Diaz is an out-and-out winger.
All right.
Inside forward, I guess. He is a winger because that's what a winger is. He'll get you up the pitch, up the line, stay out wide, but he's not an inside forward, which is what Mane was for us, that obviously taking those runs, cutting inside, finishing across the goal.
Yeah, well, that's
that.
more Salah. Really.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. So, it all depends on the tactical approach. But this is exactly my point. I don't see tactically in a game where we don't need a runner how he's useful.
Okay, I know what you mean, and I think maybe even Elliot's perfect for that role.
Exactly my point, and this is how you rotate them.
Yeah,
you play a City away, you play Szoboszlai, you then play a Southampton at home that are going to sit back and counter.
Or like Forest.
You play Elliot, exactly my
Forest
point.
Would be absolutely perfect.
And look, tell me, and this should prove my whole point, and if it doesn't, I'll shut up. But tell me, did Elliot or did he not do more in 15 minutes on the pitch than Szoboszlai 75?
100%.
Exactly my point.
100%.
Because when Szoboszlai isn't required to be running up and down the pitch like a madman, he seems pretty useless.
Yeah.
Just like yesterday and just like numerous times over the course of the season. But anyways, we've spent more than enough on Szoboszlai. Yeah. So moving on to Salah, probably. Yeah, we'll just stick with it. Probably could be a 4, but who cares? Jota.
Yeah.
5. He misses the crucial chance at the start of the second.
And then
but again,
Gakpo.
Yeah, just give me a moment on Jota. Again, I think that he was doing a lot of stuff right. You know, a lot of the link-up play, pressing, chasing down. But again, he's not quite there yet. So I think that, you know, we kind of understand that now. We can be a little bit more understanding with him. And obviously gets the winner against Everton. So gives him a little bit of leeway. So Gakpo, again, nothing special.
Yeah, he didn't really do much.
Out of the attackers starting, he was the best. So he probably warrants a 6. But yeah, not great again.
Yeah.
I think it was a weird decision to start Gakpo over Diaz, especially after the game Diaz had.
Yeah, especially because of that. But I think more in recent form, if we're talking about overall the past couple of games, I think that Gakpo is the better option.
But not really, because that's when the injury's been. Before that, you're 100% correct. But recently, obviously, the fitness issue and Diaz was starting more. I guess that moves us naturally on to Diaz now. Probably our man of the match.
Yeah, I think
he can have an 8.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably the best rating we'll give today.
Yeah, and then Bradley though as well.
Yeah, Bradley did great. He can have a 7.5, just under him. Yeah, I think
I'm really happy with Bradley.
Really nice bit of composure for the assist, you know. Didn't panic, just slotted him through, nice and simple, all you need. And it's good to finally have a right back at right back again.
Yeah, love it.
And Elliot after that, again, I was quite impressed with Elliot. I always love when he comes on because I think, again, that urgency he brings. You can see how much it means to him.
He's so hungry to have an impact.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I love. And every time he picks up the ball, you see him look up and he's looking right away of how he can progress, how we can go get that goal to get back in the game. So I'm really impressed with Elliot, and I'd give him a 7 because I think, again, what I said earlier, we were this close away from that, us being back in the game with that crossbar, and he's really unlucky that hasn't gone in. He's done everything right.
We've seen that before against Luton. We was talking about it. Yeah, he's amazing. I love him. Genuinely.
Who else came on yesterday? Chiesa, probably a 6.
Yeah,
didn't really have enough time.
So unlucky though.
Yeah, really unlucky.
So unlucky. I think you give him like 15, 10 more minutes, he's scoring.
Yep, exactly.
He's scoring, and he should have came on earlier.
Yeah, I agree. And who else came on?
But I'm happy Chiesa's getting more minutes.
Oh
now.
Yeah, finally.
Who
was the other sub? Was there another one?
Have a look. It wasn't Endo, who's usually our go-to.
Yeah, he didn't come on yesterday.
I don't know, I'm trying to think.
So Diaz, Elliot, Nunes. How could we forget Nunes?
Oh. Speak of the devil, not great. I don't know, it's just... he's out this summer.
He's out, he's gone.
Listen,
give him a 5. Let's just wrap this up.
Listen,
I don't even want to talk about Nunes anymore.
Do you know what really troubles me?
God.
That this is the first ever time we've given out 4s in the Red Brothers pod, and we've given out 3.
That was just the sort of performance it's been. I mean, it's been the worst performance of the season, probably by far, in that first half. Maybe Plymouth. It's up
Obviously,
there,
Plymouth's more than that. Plymouth should have given 3s across the board. I'm not going to lie, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But I think that pretty much wraps up the episode.
Yeah, I think it does. And thank you very much, guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Red Brothers pod.
Yep.
And we'll be seeing you after we hopefully beat West Ham at Anfield.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.